Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Palm Tree Sports. My name is Corey Pujols, and I am your host for this illustrious show. And as always, it is brought to you and powered by IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And guys, welcome back to this home that we call Palm Tree Sports. It is my pleasure to bring this information to you guys on a weekly basis. And as always, we have quite a bit of information for you. Though today will be a short show, I just want to give you that disclaimer out now. Obviously, due to the fact that now that the draft has concluded, we have kind of swung into what's starting to be early practices, and then soon, once the summer kicks in, we'll be kicking things off with OTAs and mandatory practices. Obviously, the voluntary and mandatory practices are two different things. Where the voluntary practices, only the rookies will have to show up, as well as the second-year guys may have to show up depending on their positions on the team, and then after that, mandatory training camp will take place. So let's go ahead and get things started with the NFL and what's going on there. As far as the NFL is concerned, guys, and due to the fact that, like I said, the draft was last week and we did cover all the draft prospects that were picked up by each of the teams, the Buccaneers, the Dolphins, and the Jaguars, what we'll do now is we'll start unveiling the opponents. At least on this show, we will unveil the opponents for each team. That will be home and away, because that's the next biggest thing now that we know some of the players that we're expecting to suit up and for the roster and earn their spots through the summer. Let's talk about the teams that they're going to be facing, and I will also give little comments based on what I believe will take place via those teams. I am no wizard by any means necessary, but I do have a good eye for telling the future as far as sports are concerned. So if you guys want to take what I have to say to heart, you guys may find yourself in position thinking, hey, I heard that one guy, Corey, mentioned this, and look, it's happening, okay? So we're going to go ahead and get into that. We're going to start off with Tampa Bay. So, with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, all right, they have the list of opponents, I should say, is pretty typical, I would say. As a Tampa Bay fan, we've seen a few of these teams more consistently than other teams. So I'll go ahead and start off with the home games. The verified home games for this year, the 2023 season, will be the Bears, the Lions, the Jags, the Titans, the Eagles, and of course the NFC South rivals that we have, the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons. Okay, so regardless of what anybody thinks about Tampa Bay, we're going to win some games this year. I don't care if you don't like Baker Mayfield. I don't care if you don't like Tampa Bay. Our defense is good enough that we're going to win at least 4 or 5 games, all right, off of the defense alone this year. With the offense, I wouldn't be surprised if we're able to add another 4 or 5 games. So, with my ideal, I would say, record for the end of this season for Tampa Bay will most likely be, I would say, 11-6. And I'm saying 11-6 with conviction in my heart, and there's a reason behind that. I haven't told you the away games yet, but I firmly believe that we can at least split with each team in the South, if not dominate, and win 5 out of 6 of those games. I do suspect that the Saints will collect a game against us, simply because when it comes down to the rivalries that dominate each division, the Bucs and the Saints in recent history has been the definitive, whoever sweeps this series is going to win the division more times than not. The Falcons and the Panthers, I'm going to just be 100% honest with you. History is not on their side, and not only is history not on their side, but winning percentage is not on their side. Well, what do you mean by that? Specifically, one area, the Super Bowl. The Buccaneers and the Saints have both won their Super Bowl appearances. The Buccaneers won their first Super Bowl appearance in 2002. The Saints won their Super Bowl appearance, was that 2006-07 year, I believe it was. And then you had the Buccaneers again winning a couple years back when Tom Brady first came over to Tampa Bay. So, you look at the history of both the Falcons and the Panthers. The Falcons have been to a Super Bowl against our boy, TB, the GOAT, Tom Brady, and he led the greatest comeback as only the comeback kid can do in Super Bowl history against those very same Falcons. That's another reason why we love Tom Brady and Tampa Bay. For those who do not know, I've mentioned this many times before, but Tampa Bay fans have already loved Tom Brady since the beginning. The only ones who didn't are, and I hate to say it like this, and I apologize for those people out there who may feel this way, but are low IQ football aficionados and fans. If you're a Tampa Bay fan, Tom Brady has been the big brother next door since before our first Super Bowl, knocking off the Rams in his first Super Bowl victory, and then following it up by knocking off the Panthers and the Eagles. Those are all three teams that Tampa Bay has a very bad relationship with, to say the least. And I don't care whether it's the California-based Rams, or if it's St. Louis, which is what they were when they played Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. We don't care for those teams at all. Period. The end. So, I will say that again, that I believe that somewhere in that 11-6, possibly a 12-5, but I think 11-6, 10-7 is more our area, and I'm only saying that because obviously we have a lot of new pieces that have joined this team, and so has the rest of the division, but we've all also lost pieces, all right? So that's also something to take into consideration. Do our gains outweigh our loss? For Tampa Bay, because of how well they drafted this past year, I would venture to say that nobody's expecting anything of us, and therefore we have the element of surprise. We have some amazing talent still on this team for those who forget, and with that being said, we're also in a conference, in a division, more specifically, that is much weaker. The NFC is weaker than the AFC, there's no doubt about that, and the NFC South is probably the weakest of the four. Meaning, all we got to do is win and we're in, right? And so I feel as though Tampa Bay has a chance, just as good as any chance in our division, to do anything, and I expect us to do pretty well. Now, of the home games that I see Tampa Bay having an issue with is by far the Jaguars and the Eagles are at the top of that list. I would not be surprised if the Jaguars walk in to Raymond James Stadium, and the Eagles for that matter, and they put a whooping on Tampa Bay. I'm not saying that because that's what I expect. I'm saying that because those two teams are two of the better teams in the league, and I would be surprised if they didn't get any better after the draft. I think that they did well. I think every team did well addressing needs in the draft. There were only a few, what was that pick, that I saw during the draft. So I would not be surprised if those two teams come in and create issues. The Lions and the Bears are both sleeper teams. I think that the Bears may have a resurgence. The Lions might need one more year, okay? Though the Lions did draft well, this is a team that is in a division / conference where if you're not in the 1%, or at least in the top percentage, I say 1% as if I'm talking about the real world, but the upper echelon of the 50% of the AFC football teams, okay, you guys get what I'm saying, right? The Chiefs, the Bengals, right? Those teams that are repetitive, the Bills, that are repetitively showing just how good they are and consistently making the playoffs. That's what I mean to say specifically for the Titans. I don't think that they are in position in their own division, let alone conference, to make much noise. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Bucs win all of their home games against the in-division rivals, the Panthers, the Saints, and the Falcons. I wouldn't be surprised if they also beat the Titans, the Lions, and the Bears. The Bears will probably be the best middle-of-the-road team to give us a struggle. Now, as for the away games, we have Green Bay, we have the Minnesota Vikings, we have the Texans, the Colts, the Niners, the Bills, Panthers, Saints, and Falcons. One more away game than home game, I believe it is. And as far as these games are concerned, my only concerns as far as the away games go are going to be the Niners, the Bills, and the Vikings. Green Bay, Texans, Panthers, Saints, Falcons, I'm not too all worried about. Again, our division is the weakest division in all of football, and as a result, there's not a lot of cause for concern for Tampa Bay going into these away games, and they haven't been much cause for concern the last few years, may I add. So if we can continue the trend that we've had, we should be fine walking into the opposing team's den, at least in the NFC South. The Vikings and the Niners were two of the best teams in the NFC last year, and I suspect that won't change much. However, teams have been known to fall off, and of course, the Bills in the AFC, again, one of the best teams in the league at any given time. So we will have to wait and see what happens there. I am hoping and praying that the Bucs play well this year, put something on tape, put something on paper to build off of. We'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Now, I mentioned that the Bucks drafted extremely well, and the reason is because we had a bunch of people leave. It would be far-fetched for me to say that some of the draft picks that we acquired this year would not be better than the players that already left. And what I mean by that is we drafted very well. First round pick Kalijah Kancey most definitely will start for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't see why he wouldn't start. We lost a ton of work on the inside. If he doesn't start, it'll be because Greg Gaines and his experience is landing him there in that starting spot. But I would not be surprised if the rotation leads to him ending up at the forefront of the defensive line along with Vita Vea. I can just see it now. Him and Vita would be absolutely monstrous there on the interior, especially with the edge help that we picked up. Speaking of edge help, that leads me to Yaya Diaby. He is a outside linebacker that the Bucs were staring at for a while, actually. So there's no surprise that the Tampa Bay landed him, but more specifically, his work ethic and size may allow him to reach the starting role a lot faster. Cody Mauch is definitely somebody who will most likely also find himself fighting for a starting position come week 1. We lost a couple of people on the offensive line over the last few years. Most recently, Donovan Smith, who signed a 1-year deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. There's no mystery as to why he was let go. We know we love him and we appreciate everything he helped us accomplish, but we don't have the money to pay him. And on top of that, there was the penalty issue. He had a penalty in every single game last year, at least one. So that's something that obviously when you're looking at your offensive line, you're looking at your players on your roster in general, and you're going to say, hey, you know, we're going to cut down 16 penalties off the year at the very least by releasing him. It is what it is. We got to do what we have to do. Again, there's a price to be paid for going after the GOAT and bringing in such weapons such as Gronkowski and Leonard Fournette. So we knew this was coming. We're not upset. It's part of the process. It's part of the business. Wish we could have kept all the guys, but hey, it is what it is, and it's time to get back and better than ever before. You know, obviously, I take that statement back, actually, as I think about it. You know, it's not going to get too much better than Tom Brady in Tampa Bay. But hey, let's move on. Now, Josh Hayes, defensive back that we drafted, is somebody to keep an eye on just because we do have the need for another starting defensive back, and we'll have to wait and see how that, that develops. We do have a Zion McCollum still hanging around in the throes of the lower part of the depth chart, but this guy could end up being the most improved defensive back / player on our team, especially since he was the one guy that didn't really see much of any action last year, who was picked in the earlier part of the draft. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Inside linebacker Servassier Dennis is somebody also to keep an eye on while contract negotiations and things are being worked out with Devin White, just due to the fact that Devin has been boisterous about wanting a trade from Tampa Bay, and just knowing that this defense may find itself in an overhaul of depth chart rearranging, to say the least. And that's basically it for Tampa Bay as far as the draft was concerned, and bringing these players in to determine whether they'll be starters or they'll be second or third stringers, and how that bodes against the teams that will be playing in the 2023 NFL campaign for Tampa Bay. Those are my opinions on Tampa Bay. Let's move on over to the Jaguars. The Jaguars, quite frankly, are the best team in Florida right now. And I think that the Jags' home schedule doesn't favor them as much as their away schedule does. Let's go ahead and get into it, right? So for the home schedule, of course, the Titans, Colts, Texans, those will be the division rivals that they'll have to play. They are by far the best team in the AFC South, so I wholeheartedly expect them to win between 4 to all 6 of those games. The only way I see them really splitting is if the Colts or the Titans decide to wake up, more so the Colts than the Titans, but the Colts have a new quarterback, and so will the Titans. And by new quarterback, I mean young, specifically. Neither one of those situations bode well for their respective brands, as again the Jags have the best team in all of Florida right now, and they are the best team in the AFC South. So here's hoping that they continue that trend there. But then once you get away from the in-division games, the out-of-division and conference games for that matter actually are going to be a bit of a problem for the Jags, all right? So, again, these are the home games, but these are non-division games. You ready? Ravens, Falcons, Bengals, Panthers, Chiefs, Niners. Okay, before you guys say anything, I'm specifically worried about the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chiefs, and the Niners. These are four of the best teams in the entire NFL as of last year, and they only got better through the draft, okay? Each of those teams retain their starting quarterbacks, all right? They are retaining most, if not all, of their offensive line and offensive weapons, and they all have relatively good defenses. Now, of these teams, the most questionable defense is probably the Chiefs. The best defense on here is probably the Niners. The reason why I bring those up to you is because that was a Super Bowl a couple of years back, okay? So, these are the same teams that have been doing it for the last few years. They're staying frequent. They're staying consistent. That's not good for the Jags, who are kind of the new guys on the block, especially after finding success last year. So, we'll have to wait and see how those games go. I do believe that the Jags can beat the Chiefs if they play tremendous defense. The Niners will probably be the hardest game. The Ravens and Bengals will both be toss-ups depending on how healthy each of those teams are. At full health, I don't think the Jags can beat the Bengals. At full health, I don't think the Jags can beat the Ravens. However, I have been wrong in the past. I think the best shot comes for the Jags against, again, the Chiefs, and I would say after that, possibly, depending on who's starting for the Niners, okay? If it's Brock Purdy, I'm sorry, I don't think anybody is really ready for Brock. The guy was just absolutely phenomenal last year. If he doesn't get injured, there's no guarantee that the Niners don't win the Super Bowl. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Now, the away games, guys, this is a completely different ball game. I can absolutely see the Jags winning every single one of these games, okay? So, away games go Titans, Colts, Texans, obviously AFC South rivals, and then after that you go Browns, Saints, Bucks, Steelers, Bills. Okay. The Bucks, obviously, that's my team I'm impartial to. However, if I'm going to be objective, if we do not have a way to stop the run, which we struggled with doing after suffering so many injuries last year on the defensive side of the ball, the Jags will beat us, first and foremost. The Browns, the Saints, and the Steelers are all in the same boat. They're all middle-of-the-road teams with some pieces here, but not quite as complete a team as the Jaguars have. Therefore, I have the Jaguars easily winning all of those games. Now, with the Bills, that is a team that is very similar to the Jaguars. They have a really good team. There's just one problem. They've lost a bit of talent on that team. Now, they still have your starting quarterback, Josh Allen, which means the team is still going to be dangerous. However, they don't have quite as many weapons as they had last year. So that'll be something to keep an eye on, especially for the Jaguars, who have been playing tremendous defense, and they have drafted well this year. So they may be able to fix some of the problems that they had originally last year on the defensive side of the ball. So that's just something, to keep in mind, guys. Now, let's go ahead and move over to the Dolphins. The Dolphins also have a very interesting schedule. Their schedule is more interesting because they're in a division where you have pretty much all decent teams. None of these teams are really bad in the AFC East. And for those who are wondering, the AFC East consists of the Bills, the Pats, the Jets, and of course the Fins. I think the Bills are most likely still the best overall team in the AFC East. We'll have to wait and see, of course, how this season shapes up. But if I had my guess on it, the Bills would be most likely the best team still in the AFC East. The Pats and the Jets are both in rebuilding ways. The Jets went all in on Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how that goes. He's an old man now, but Tom Brady showed that age is nothing but a number, right? With the Pats, I don't know. With the Pats, you're going to have a good defensive team almost always, just because of Bill Belichick's mindset and him as a coaching prodigy. He's always been defensive-minded first, and everything else kind of comes second. I don't know what to expect really from the Fins this year. They've signed a bunch of talent in the offseason, but you're still going to have to protect your quarterback. I'm always going to go back to that with the Fins because of their inability to have done so last year with Tua Tagovailoa. So, if Tua Tagovailoa starts every game and stays healthy, I can easily see them beating the Bills, the Pats, and the Jets once each, if not both times. The only team that I really expect them to give them any problems will be the Bills, or if Aaron Rodgers decides to go nuts this year, then Aaron Rodgers I could see also creating issues for them, as the Jets do have a really good defense. Now, for the rest of the home games, the Broncos, Raiders, Cowboys, Giants, Titans, Panthers, these are all legitimate toss-ups. These are all just legitimate toss-ups. The Broncos and the Raiders, you guys are probably beat pretty handily by 10 points or better. However, the Cowboys, the Giants, the Titans could be on a resurgence this year again because of their conference, or my bad, not conference, but their division being as weak as it is for all intents and purposes. Jaguars being the best team in that division. I wouldn't be surprised if they swing for the fences outside of the division just to rack up wins. And so with that being said, I don't suspect the Titans to put any more than a 3-point beating on Miami if they're to win the game, but I'm gonna be honest, I'm taking Miami in that game. The Titans is probably the one middle of the road team out of the Broncos, Raiders, Titans, and Panthers that have the puncher's chance, but the Raiders, Cowboys, Giants, they're all probably the same level as Miami. And that's why I say all these games are toss-ups, because obviously we got to count injuries, we got to count, things that are going to come into play as they do every year that we don't see coming, player suspensions and things like that. So yes, Miami has a lot of talent, but again, when your quarterback is a question mark, his future is a question mark more specifically. You got to take it a week at a time, and that means you got to take it a game at a time. For the away games for the Dolphins, Bills, Pats, Jets, all division games. Again, I've already spoken on that. Chiefs, Chargers, Eagles, Commanders, Ravens. Yeah, that's going to be much harder. Much, much harder. I think that the Bills, or not the Bills, my apologies, but the Fins can beat the Chargers and the Commanders. The Ravens, Eagles, Chiefs are all going to be toss-up games, guys. It depends on who's playing better football at quarterback position that day. May the better quarterback win. All right. With the Chiefs, you got Patty Mahomes. With the Ravens, you have Lamar Jackson in his brand new contract, and then the Eagles, of course, you have Jalen Hurts. Okay. All of those quarterbacks, I think, can perform better than Tua Tagovailoa if Tua is not at 100%. If it's at 100%, it's a coin toss. It's a coin toss. All right, guys. So that is my viewpoint there. I did not mention for the Jaguars what I thought their records would be, and I'll go ahead and give you a quick number for those end of the season records. So for the Jaguars, again, I don't see them beating the Ravens, the Bengals, the Chiefs, or the Niners, and the Bills may be the one away game that gives them trouble. So that would put them at 5 losses on the season. So I like them at, I would say, 11-6, because obviously there's always going to be a rough division game somewhere in the mix where they just drop the ball against an opponent that you see twice a year. I'm going to go 11-6 for the Jaguars. Best case scenario will most likely be 14-3. The 3 losses coming to the Bengals, the Niners, and probably the Chiefs. Those would be my 3 losses if they were to go 14-3. Now, for the Dolphins, I feel a little bit different, because the fact is they have to play the Cowboys, the Giants, and those 2 teams specifically are probably better than the Dolphins. Like, all around, from the team perspective, they're probably better than the Dolphins. So those are 2 losses, in my opinion, that will be for the home games. Of course, the Broncos, Raiders, and Titans games will all be toss-ups. And then for the away games, the AFC East plays a little bit better at home. So I'm going to go with them losing to the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Ravens. And then, obviously, 1 or 2 of the division games. So that would put them at about 7 losses, which would mean they would be going about 10-7. So I'm going to rock with a 10-7 record for the Dolphins this year. We'll have to wait and see again how the season unpacks, but once it does, we'll have a better look as to what's going on. Now, with that being said, guys, we're going to close out this part of the NFL side of things. I know there was a bit of going back and forth, but obviously when you're talking about what teams are going to be playing and, you know, who they're going to be playing against more specifically, it's a little confusing. So, to say the least, those are my professional beginning of the season / to the end of the season records for each of our teams coming out of Florida. But when we get back, we're going to talk NBA, we're going to talk NHL, we're going to talk MLB, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in martial arts both tonight and last night, and I'll give you guys some what to watch coming up for tonight and tomorrow. So keep it locked here at Palm Tree Sports Radio. Thank you again. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it is brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? Are you looking for the latest on Northern California sports? Then take a trip out west with me, your host, Gina G, on Reppin' the NorCal Sports, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'll be bringing it to you all the way live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And it's always a packed show. I'll bring you everything Dynastic 49ers, the bite of the San Jose Sharks, torture of the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors that we still believe. Then take you across the bay to the rise and grind of the Oakland A's. I've got you covered on college ball from the Cal Bears to the Stanford Cardinal, so that no matter what, reppin' in NorCal sports is always reppin' the Bay. So if you bleed red and gold, or you're looking to keep an eye out west in them thar hills, don't miss me, Gina G, on reppin' in NorCal sports. Catch me every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'll have your fandom repped harder than a trio of defenders guarding Stephen Curry before his buzzer beater is Gucci.
You know, guys, for all of you who are listening to the NorCal Sports radio station, I'm pretty sure they're very happy with Golden State's last performance against the Lakers down in San Francisco. So congratulations to them for winning that game, as the series is now tied 1-1, and they will be playing their next game later tonight, now that the Heat game is over, which is what we'll be jumping into next. And that's why I kind of wanted to tag in there and kind of mention that, because we're getting much closer to the NBA Finals now that the teams have dropped down and there's only 8 teams remaining. Soon we're going to be right at the steps of the Finals, and I can't wait personally. So go Lakers, go Heat. Congratulations again to Golden State. I am impartial. I do like Golden State. I like Steph Curry more specifically. He's a wonderful talent. But we're not here to talk about Steph. We're actually here to talk about the Miami Heat. So welcome back to Palm Tree Sports Radio. Again, my name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, it's brought to you and powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And guys, the Miami Heat, okay, excuse me, my apologies there. They're playing phenomenal basketball. And what I mean by that is when Jimmy Butler is in the lineup, okay? When I turned the game on, the score was 52-71. Heat were blowing the Knicks out. Now, again, I mentioned that this series was tied 1-1. The Heat won the first game convincingly. Jimmy Butler got injured, so the Knicks stole the second game. Okay? So now, we're back in Miami, and the Miami Heat have once again reclaimed victory after bringing back Jimmy Butler, of course, who is out with injury. They were able to reclaim a victory against the Knicks, bringing the series to 2-1 Miami's way, with the next game being in Miami. That game will be played on Monday, May 8th at 7:30 p.m. Again, if Jimmy Butler is in this lineup the rest of the way through, Heat in 5, guys. Heat in 5. All right. I would say 6 But the Knicks just aren't playing really good basketball right now, guys. They're just not playing really good basketball against the Heat. Of course, it's hard to do that when you have Eric Spoelstra, the head coach, on the other side. I'm always going to praise him because he is a phenomenal head coach. Guys, we can't say this enough. He's very underrated in his ability and the things that he can do. And I look forward to seeing what he's able to do as he continues to push this Heat team further into the playoffs. Again, I believe our Heat will be wrapping this game up in 5 games. The series up in 5 games, no less than 6. Go Heat. Congratulations on the big win. Jimmy Butler playing like playoff Jimmy. And he's pretty much unstoppable right now. The Knicks just don't have an answer for him. He's taking charges. He's getting assists. He's shooting a 3 ball better than he's probably shot ever in his career. And his mid-range has always been lethal. I'm very happy with the way this team is performing. As long as they can stay healthy, that's going to be the main thing. I know Victor Oladipo got injured not too long ago, and obviously I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago on the show that he was going to be having surgery. And hopefully that's going well for him, and hopefully he continues to rest up and get more healthy, and he can return back to the game that he loves to play so much. Now, guys, that's pretty much it for the NBA. As you guys know, Magic didn't make the playoffs this year, so there's not much, or too much, I should say, to cover less than that. Like I said, though, the next game will be Monday, May 8th, 7:30 p.m., so they get a day of rest, a day and a half, I guess you could say, of rest, and they'll be back at it Monday. So there's what to watch for Monday evening for those checking in there. Now, we're going to slide directly into the NHL and talk about the Bolts, and then we'll slide directly into the MLB, simply because these things are a lot more fluid right now, to say the least. Now, the Bolts, their season has ended as their series has ended against the Maple Leafs. Toronto was able to close out that final game 2-1 and end the season of the Bolts. And guys, there's not too much more to say to the Bolts than what we've already said, so I'm just going to pin it one more time just to bring it home. Thank you, Bolts, and we love you. That's it. And nobody's upset. Nobody's mad. Nobody's angry. Nobody's breaking a TV, guys. Listen, 3.5 years of utterly dominating the NHL. And they said we couldn't play ice hockey down here in Tampa. They said it was too hot in Tampa. Well, let this serve as a reminder of how good the Bolts are here in Titletown and how proud we are to be fans of the Bolts and to have this beautiful team as our hockey team down here. In Tampa, we love a good hockey game, whether you're watching it, but going to it is just electrifying, to say the least, if you get what I did there. But Amalie Arena is a special place. The Bolts are a special team. We're very happy, and we're very pleased with what you guys were able to accomplish this year, and we look forward to you guys coming back bigger and better than ever. Take this time to rest, recharge those batteries, go on vacation, just spend time with your family, have a good time, guys, because you guys aren't just players too. You guys have a life outside of the game of hockey. So go live it and enjoy it. And that's it for the Bolts. Again, like I said, nobody's upset. We're all very happy what they were able to accomplish. And guys, just for record, I know I'm sniffling a lot. I kind of have a little congestion going on here. It's just from the weather switching up the way it's been. And I know you guys are like, what switching up? You're in Tampa. How does it switch up? You're in Brandon. How does it switch up in the Sunshine State? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes we have cool mornings. It's the weirdest thing. But sometimes we have cool mornings. We had a couple this week. And then we're also expecting rain and cloudiness all the time, pretty much. At any given time, a sun shower is very common in Florida. So, yeah, to say the least. Now, let us move into the pride of Tampa Bay currently right now, which is the hottest team in baseball right now, and that would be the Tampa Bay Devil/Rays, baby. And like I said, hottest team in baseball. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're at. I don't care what team you like. Hottest team in baseball. This team is nuts. All right. When I tell you watching them play baseball is like watching a pro football team play against a high school football team, I enjoy it. I truly enjoy it because I'm, here. And we've been through enough. We've lost enough, guys. I mean, we've been to 2 World Series. We got kicked in the ass both times. Excuse my French, but we got destroyed both of those World Series. Guys, I want this team to show up at the World Series and just throttle whoever's there. I don't care who's there. I don't care who's on the other side. I want our boys to bring it home because they're playing on a level that almost no other team in history has played on. And when I tell you it's a sight to behold what Tampa Bay is doing right now in the MLB, I mean it. Let's start with what's going on today. Last time I saw the Rays, they were beating up on the Yankees 2-0. And that was at the bottom of the sixth, I believe it was. So, with the Rays record as it stands right now, they are 27 and 6, which is a league best. And they are playing against the Yankees, as I mentioned, which have a record of 17 and 16. The Yankees are not playing good baseball this year. It is what it is. We knew it was going to happen at some point. You can't play good baseball every single year. That's just how it is, guys. It's just how it is in the MLB. Now, let's talk about the Rays sweeping the Pirates. So, before the Pirate series, 3-game series, the Rays and the Pirates had the 2 best records in the MLB. Now, only the Rays have the best record in the MLB. The Pirates dropping all 3 of those games against Tampa Bay was big. I said last week that I expected the Rays to win 2 of the games just to assert some dominance and let people know that they're not playing. They went ahead and won all 3. Boom. I mean, it doesn't get too much better than that, guys. I don't think so. I don't think it gets too much better than that. I'm very happy with the manner in which they handled the Pirates, and I just hope that they continue to do that as we get ready to close out this series against the Yankees, and then we will go see the Orioles after that. Now, in order, all right, we have the Yankees tomorrow to wrap this 3-game series up against the Yankees, as I mentioned, at 1:40 p.m. So if you're looking for something to watch around lunchtime tomorrow, there you go, guys. Rays, Yanks, 1:40 p.m., right after lunchtime, early afternoon. If you're not taking a nap, check it out. Hopefully the Rays can close this game out and improve to 29 and 6 on the season. Guys, again, this is just nuts. This is the hottest team in baseball, and I'm going to continue to say it because we're not going to get to say it too often, all right? Yeah, okay, so Yanks, 3-2. I don't have the game on at the moment, so thank you for that update. Hopefully the Rays will pull this one back out, top of the ninth, so, they have one more chance to go ahead and try to get that done. If they don't get it done, my apologies, their record will then be 28 and 7 if they can wrap up this game tomorrow, if they take the loss today. So it is what it is, guys. I mean, you can't win every game. We know that, but we've been playing tremendous baseball, and I just want that to continue. It is what it is, all right? The next 3 games will be a series against the Orioles, who are 22 and 10, one of the hottest teams in the league as well. Not quite as hot as Tampa Bay, but the Orioles have been known to play Tampa Bay to the T. And so we'll just have to see how that series goes. I think if they can do and replicate the effort and the skill, the improv, just everything needed to play the game of baseball against the Orioles, they can do a very similar thing that they did to the Pirates. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But I have all the faith in the world in my team, as should we all. And obviously, I don't too much care for the Orioles. So, let's go Rays. Let's go Rays. Randy Arozarena, Franco Diaz, and the Lau brothers. Tremendous. These guys are playing on a different level right now. All right? Brandon, Josh, Lau are just nuts. Franco's been playing clutch baseball all year long, along with Randy Arozarena, who looks like an MVP this year. As far as I'm concerned, I don't care who you like. He's my MVP right now. The guy's just cracked. He's absolutely nuts. And like I said, Diaz has shown up, especially when needed, and he's been keeping the train rolling. And that's something that you like to see because these guys feed off of each other. One guy does something, another guy has to step up, and then another guy has to step up, and another guy has to step up. And that's iron sharpening iron right there. That's what I like. All right, so keep it up, boys. Keep it up, Rays. I am very proud of what you have been able to accomplish this year, and I look forward to seeing what you're able to do against the Orioles in this next 3-game series as we get ready to wrap up this series with the Yanks. Again, good luck tomorrow afternoon. I will be watching that game myself, and then, I should be watching that game unless God forbid something come up, but I should be watching that game, and let's try to close out this game against the Yanks. If we got to go to extra innings, it is what it is, guys. Let's get that W, all right? Lastly, guys, we have some mixed martial arts tonight. For those who are going to be watching the UFC event, it's going to be UFC 288. It's going to be Triple C, Henry Cejudo, versus Aljamain Sterling for the 135-pound belt, I believe it is. and I'm going to go Triple C. It's very simple, okay? There are a lot of people who don't like Triple C. There are a lot of people who are not really big fans of Aljamain Sterling, thinking that he won the title on accident. Regardless of what you think, Triple C is a Olympic gold medalist. All right? I'm going to say that again. Olympic gold medalist. All right? Guy's a monster. He's an absolute juggernaut. All right? Now, his emotional disposition can be completely incorrect at times. I've watched this guy break down fights, and unfortunately, he's not the best striker in the world, so he doesn't really have a tongue or leg to stand on when it comes to striking. But from a wrestling perspective, this guy might be one of the 3 best wrestlers to ever grace the UFC, let alone mixed martial arts in general. All right, so I mean, and that remains to be seen. However, I believe that Henry Cejudo and his playability and his style will give Aljamain Sterling problems all night. If Aljamain does not utilize his striking and his leg kicks specifically, he will lose this match. I'm going to go Triple C by decision, although I could see him ending it in the 3rd via TKO. Or strikes, for that matter. Henry Cejudo does punch incredibly hard, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens there. But, you know, I think that we will have new and once again champion Henry Cejudo back in the mix. Now, the co-main event is going to be versus Muhammad and Burns are going to be going at it at 170, I believe it is. They're going to be going at it. So, Belal Muhammad is a tremendous fighter on a 10-fight win streak, I think it is, something like that. He's been winning nonstop lately, but he's running into Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is a man who will fight anybody, anytime, and he embodies it. He's a tremendous athlete. He's a tremendous Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter and a tremendous striker. I'm going to go with Gilbert Burns, 2nd round TKO. The only reason why I'm going Gilbert Burns 2nd round TKO is because I expect the fight to go to the ground, and if it does go to the ground, I wouldn't be surprised if Gilbert uses his superior positioning and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills to maneuver him into position where Muhammad may defend submissions. I'm not quite sure how good Muhammad is off of his back. We'll have to wait and see how that goes, because most of the time we see him striking. But I think I'm going to go Gilbert Burns, 2nd round TKO. It could be a submission. It just depends on positioning. Also, for those who love Charles Oliveira as much as I do, he will be fighting tonight. So keep an eye out for that fight. Obviously, I expect him to win. I hope he wins. I love Charles Oliveira. He's one of my favorite fighters. I enjoy watching him do his thing. Now, as for what to watch tonight at UFC 288, One Championship did conclude their 135-pound main event last night with DJ, that is Demetrius Johnson, defeating Adriano Ramirez to retain his 135-pound belt. Unanimous decision. It really wasn't much of a close fight. DJ did what he does, and that's dominate, and dominate some more. Okay, for those who are wondering, that is a 3-round trilogy that had just been wrapped up. Morales won the first fight via knee, TKO with a knee. Actually, I think it was actually knockout because he landed just the one knee, and it was pretty much over after that. DJ got his vindication, landing his own knee after a solid right hand to the temple rocked Adriano Ramirez. Moraes. Jeez, I'm saying his name incorrectly. My apologies, guys. But they basically traded knockout knees, and DJ getting his title back. He wasn't going to lose it a second time or the same way he lost it the first time, which is what partially makes him the GOAT. Alrighty. Mid-9, still 3-2, go Rays. Let's do it. Thanks, Dad. Now, again, back to the One Championship thing. DJ is contemplating retirement. This is something that we've seen a lot of fighters go through, especially with John Jones also finding himself in position of wanting to retire after he fights Stipe Miocic. At this point, they have beaten the who's who of martial arts within their weight divisions or near weight divisions. These guys are parallel GOATs, if you will. The only difference is that the losses that are on DJ's record were due to somebody capitalizing on a single mistake versus John Jones's, where he just made a mistake, and a bad one at that. But it is what it is. That's where we are in martial arts today, guys. For those who are also watching the One Championship last night, this is my last comment on that. Rodtang with a nasty elbow finish last night. Phenomenal work by him. One of the most legendary Muay Thai practitioners in the history of MMA and the history of Muay Thai in general. A guy that I looked at quite often, and just watched his style, and I can't mimic it because the guy's an absolute tank, but I'll tell you what, I've learned a few things from him, and I will be using those as I continue on my martial arts journey, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here on Palm Tree Sports, guys. My name is Corey Pujols, your host, and as always, is brought to you by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And may I just part ways with you guys with this little bit of information. Love yourself, love your family, spend time with your family, be safe. It's a full moon out there, guys. Be conscious of what's going on, be conscious of the people around you, but still yet have the nerve to enjoy your time. Whatever it is that you're doing, enjoy it, live it up. Life is short. Spend time with the people you love. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the fights tonight. Enjoy the rest of the sports going on, basketball and what have you. And just, make the most out of it, guys. Make the most out of it. I really appreciate everybody for listening. I appreciate all those who take the time to listen, whether it's live or it's after, later on throughout the week, on your lunch break, whatever the case may be. If you guys want to have a conversation about anything sports related, I'm always on Twitter, just throwing around opinions with other guys and whatnot, and I love to get it mixed up with anybody, so holla at me. I at Corey Pujols on Twitter. On Instagram, I share a little bit less about sports, but I am there as well if that's more so your thing. Hit me up wherever. Let's have a conversation. And like I said, enjoy your evening, enjoy the sports tonight, and stay blessed, be blessed. And I will catch you same place, same time next week. Thank you all, and good night.